Well, Alex, you're back, and we've heard no escapades from you at all. All I've seen so far is booster pack openings with you and your boy, which have been very cute. But give us a tale of your adventures.
I've had enough escapades in Japan, so I'm quite happy not to have too many of those. So I was allowed back into the country, which is always a good sign.
When you know. That's, yeah.
So I had a 2.5 week trip out to Asia. So I went to Hong Kong because Christine had to go and sort out her identity and make sure she actually has an identity again. And I forced a trip upon us because it was cheap to, like, similar when we're in like the UK, we can fly out to Europe anyway, right? Pretty cheap. Mm-hmm. Flight to Japan from Hong Kong was 100 quid. So I was just like, yeah, let's just take a trip out. In terms of actually anything that really happened, in all honesty, no, it was just a really wholesome family trip, in all honesty. The only other aspect is when I had booked the flights to Japan and we were due to go in like 2 or 3 days, my daughter got ill, so I had to take her to hospital. And I don't know if you guys have ever gone to like a private hospital outside of the UK and had to pay fees. Oh. I'll let you guess how much it cost me for a one night stay in a Hong Kong private hospital, because my daughter had a fever, maybe a bit of a bacterial infection, doctor fees, and maybe some antibiotics. Go on, one guess from my view. Or both.
I think it's got to be over £1,000, hasn't it? I think
I'm gonna say
£1.5 1.8.
Two. Yeah.
Well, it's definitely closer to Rab's. It was 2.5.
Ooh.
That I had to shell out for
a
one night
straight
stay.
out of the college fund, is that?
I was about to ask if insurance
she's going to public school now for an extra year.
Yeah.
I mean, but Ben, it's my daughter, so I have to. What's more important is paying it out.
I guess.
But yes, I made sure my travel insurance covered it first before I made any rash decisions.
The doctor asks you if you can confirm, and you go, wait a minute, give me 3 seconds. Hang on.
It will cost you this much to stay. Hang on. Can we do this?
Christine, we're just going to have to wait it out.
I
think
there's some colour coming back into her cheeks, actually.
Splash some magic water on her. She'll be fine. But yes, I'm sorting all that out. But yeah, we had a trip to Japan as well for a week.
Yeah.
It's cherry blossom season. 9 years ago to the sort of period was when me and Christine first went to Japan for the first time. It was just a really good trip, to be honest. I think after the Worlds that we had in Yokohama, I was just like, Japan's just such an amazing place to bring like a child to like actually just enjoy and have fun. And Mason, I think, really enjoyed it. Obviously I then also enjoyed it myself when I spent a shit ton of money. Sorry, I'm swearing a lot now. All of a sudden.
Right. It's because it's hurt you. It's wounded you so much.
I'm gonna get a cool bleep sound, like a dolphin or something.
Yeah. Like a SpongeBob dolphin.
Anything. But yeah, I'm feeling it now. But it was such a good trip. And yeah, now I'm back. Unfortunately, I have to get back to work. The good thing is, we're heading straight into a bank holiday, so I'm like
huge.
Two
that
short
does ease
weeks
the blow.
off, so.
Yeah, very good.
Stunning. What about you?
And of course,
Ralph?
your first couple of days is like, I'm just catching up on emails. Sorry, I just haven't been available.
A little treat is to keep your out of office on for the first day you're back. That's always a good treat.
Yeah, 100%. It's I will respond in due course.
Give it the old private appointment, and then
private appointment.
Yeah.
One of those unfortunate things. I had the day to come back to like sort emails out, but then I had like a catch up with my mate who's my boss. But then he went on leave and then assigned me as delegated authority on all things of my team and my department. So it's
brilliant.
It is what it is. It's work. We have to get paid.
Fair enough.
Well, especially now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Please.
Please.
Rab, how about you? Just as exciting, I imagine.
Not too much. No, not too much. Just I think the only times that Alex has spoke to us in the past couple of weeks is either for links to the videos of opening packs with Mason, or just should I get this watch? So I've been extremely jealous of Dow's escapades, as I always am. But no, not too much. Just very wholesome family time as Easter's coming up. Organising a christening at some point in the near future. So
another thing we're not invited to, are we?
No. Invites haven't been sent out yet.
One of them again.
No, it's difficult. It's difficult choosing. It was Well, I've already chosen who I want to be godfather, but
suspense.
Haven't released it publicly.
How about we let the viewers? How about we do a poll? And they decide?
Congratulations, Brent Tonneson, as Spilly of the Year award winner.
That was the actual award.
Yeah.
No, but not too much. Just buying cards that I don't need, as always.
Oh.
Just
You're getting there with your cube, aren't you?
I am, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
I got all my green men, so I got my Glycopods and my Decidueyes. And it's so funny because when I'm opening my letters, I'm getting similar random, because I'm doing bulk buying. So I'm going on eBay. I've got a wish list, so I've just been like, oh, I'll just get them now because I've got an offer or whatever. So I don't know what I'm receiving in the post sometimes. So I'll open it and I'll go, oh, they're the 3 Glycopods I ordered, or they're the 3 Seismitoad EX that I ordered. So it's quite. It's quite a roulette opening the packages.
Have you doubled up and over ordered anything yet?
Not yet.
Okay.
Oh no, actually, yes, I have. I ordered 6 today, but I only needed 4. I had 4 in the cube list, but I ordered 6.
Yeah.
And actually, that reminds me, I've got to alter some of my wish list because I went to a local store and bought like a Guzzlord GX and stuff.
That can,
and that can screw things
main.
over, but yeah, not too much. Just been watching Atlanta as well. Very eager to have seen what's been popping, but I guess we'll
What's been popping?
What's been popping off?
What's been popping off?
In terms of the journey together stuff.
Yeah. Well, I'm already even further in the future. Me and Jack have been doing some webcam gameplay of Destined Rivals just to get out in front of it, because we're both going away in May. Like, I'm going to tournaments, Jack's going on a family holiday, so we're going to be really right on it, for the new format. So we've got lots of proxied up decks by the side of me. And I've also been playing an Elestrals tournament as well, which is funny. It's a strange thing, Elestrals. After the alpha dropped, the experience wasn't great on the alpha. It was very, very not ready. I think it's getting much better on the beta.
The online.
Yeah,
client.
the Clash client was very poor in the beginning, in that you literally couldn't have a functioning game. Now there are very few bugs and it's a lot more fluid, even in the beta. So it's progressing in great pace. But I was like at my peak of interest when Clash was coming out, and then I was massively deflated because I couldn't really play online. And now I've just played in this like webcam tournament, and I played like a high roll deck and got countered / low rolled in a couple of games. But I had a couple of really close games, which was fun. But
Nice.
yeah, that's behind me now, which is good. So I'm a lot less busy because I've been coming home, like gym, food, play Elestrals or play webcam, and then like stay up till 2 a.m. And, I feel like my battery is running out at the moment. I need the 4-day weekend just to recoup.
I've been playing so many different games recently. Like I haven't been playing live anywhere near as much as I should be. I've just bought
you're joking.
Schedule 1. Have you heard of this, Alex? Joe was watching me play it earlier.
I've heard, yeah.
It's
what
like a simulation game. It's quite good.
And what sort of merchandise are you selling?
Oh, just all the dank.
All the dank.
We'll leave it at that.
Googling it right now.
Just the
Say no more.
the foulest goods.
Yeah, brilliant.
Like, the description on Steam is from small-time dope pusher to kingpin. Manufacture and distribute a range of dank throughout the country city of Highland Point.
I'm at street rat tier at the moment, so that's quite funny.
Fantastic. This sounds like those stupid adverts that you get on YouTube. It's like street rat level 1.
I've been playing a lot of...
yeah.
Yeah, I know, actually, yeah, that's just, yeah. And I've been playing MLB The Show. It's so good.
MLB The Show.
I love
Hang
a bit
on.
of baseball, me. And baseball season's just popping off. I'm going to use that phrase again. So I've been...
So why?
There's some
Wait.
great- I don't know if you guys watched
why?
any of the links that I've sent you on the baseball. There's some baseball memes going out at the moment, but somebody brought their dog to a... No, they brought their dog or a cat?
The rabbit.
I forgot what it
There's
is.
a rabbit.
Oh, rabbit.
There's a rabbit.
The rabbit. Yeah.
Yeah.
They brought a rabbit to the game. That was quite funny.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Very
been
good.
enjoying that. Nelly's been enjoying it as well. She's watching it.
No, he's
Which is
loving it.
amazing.
It soothes her.
I mean,
Yeah.
that
Right.
being
Exactly.
said, Mason really enjoyed going to the baseball.
Oh, yeah, you went in
That was
person,
another
didn't
thing
you?
I was so jealous you got to watch. That's so cool because it's
yeah.
massive
It's
over
like-
there.
I put the shout. Well, Kirk put the shout out that he was obviously in Japan still, and I just said I didn't know when he was heading off, and he basically said, "Yeah, I'm going to this." And I was like, you know what? Something I wouldn't normally do too often. I've been to a baseball game before, but
Yeah.
let's just take Mason. Yeah, really good fun.
They do,
really good fun. And then
They do like the NFL, you know, when they come over here and they sometimes do a game in Dublin.
yeah,
Well, MLB go kind of around and about, and they were just in
Mm-hmm.
Tokyo recently. The LA Dodgers, they've got a really probably the best player in the world right now, Ohtani.
yes.
He's from Japan, so it's pretty hype.
I didn't know you knew
It-
this much
it's-
about it, Rab. This is great.
Oh yeah. It's like it's like
I mean,
I'm big into
he's
sport,
literally
but it's-
everywhere as well. This
Yeah,
guy
yeah.
is well. If you read anything about him, he's incredible, just as a baseball player, all round sportsman. And it's been so rare to have that come out of, I guess, Japan, despite Japan having a massive baseball following.
Interesting.
He's like an all-rounder,
He's
Joe.
incredible.
So
like,
he's transcending the game
but
and becoming that like
he's
icon
an all-rounder, but
Yeah.
as in the best
in class
everything.
in everything.
he's-
Wow.
in everything.
He's kind of like
Wait, so he pitches,
Freddie
he
Flintoff.
bats,
Yeah,
he
he's
fields,
a bit of both.
he does everything. Wow.
he's a Freddie
That's
Flintoff
interesting.
of Japan.
And I'm sat here.
That's a
All my
claim.
knowledge of baseball is just Moneyball. So
Yeah,
I've seen that about 20 times if it helps.
of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
We keep sharing
Good.
Big Short memes, don't we?
I still watch that.
It just
at least
works
once
so
a year,
well.
probably twice
on
a
every
year.
level. On every level. Of work.
Especially at the moment they're back in a big way for sure.
I saw at Coachella, like 60% of tickets were bought on credit card or something, and then somebody's just shared a picture of Christian
Michael
Bale as
Burry.
Michael Burry
Yeah.
staring at the screen. It's like,
Good. Yeah. Oh, it's so good.
it's too easy.
Well, speaking of buying tickets, the
Yes.
NAIC Reg is on the 22nd and 23rd of April. On the 22nd, it's 5 p.m. Pacific time, and on the 23rd, it's 7 a.m. Pacific time. So that gives people across the globe, hopefully, a decent chance to get that at the right time. I also completely forgot to do an intro, but I thought that was a good segue. But yes, it's the Spill the TCG podcast. Myself, Joe Bernard, Alex Dow, Benjamin Yard, as he prefers to be known now.
Is it updated now?
That's
I think
updated.
Jack's updated that now. That's
I
the one
wasn't-
thing that's changed since
I'm not gonna
you've
go with
that.
last been
For-
here, Alex.
I'm not going to go with
yeah,
the
so obviously I paid
performance. The
attention.
performance name. I'm not going to go with that
You've not gone with it.
anymore. No,
Are we-
no.
are we-
What if you
we-
just became Rab? Like,
Yeah,
no
are we not
Ben,
allowed to call
no-
you
Well,
Rab
it could be
no
like
Rab.
my gamer tag.
Your quotations, yeah, like
Benjamin,
your Adam
Benjamin
Skarsgård Watson.
Rab Yard.
Yeah, exactly.
Ben
I mean, I
Rab
wouldn't
Yard.
say that, but I could be.
But yeah, would
possible.
you just introduce yourself as
Just
your
as
gamer
reboot
tag?
or something. I don't know.
Reboot.
Yeah.
Boot.
I'll let the fans decide.
Let the
Brilliant.
let the streets decide.
The streets always decide. Anyway, yeah, so
The street rats.
NAIC Reg coming up next week. There's, I think, a bit of panic about it because it's such an important part of the season for people, especially with the top 125 now, that you really don't want to miss out on that tournament and get leapfrogged by people. That's going to have, I feel like there's going to be a bit of panic around that. So definitely be there on time and spam clicking as much as possible. I'm going to be there with you. I've already booked a com for NAIC and flights, so I'm going to be there in any capacity. really hope I'm playing. But Alex, we have some congratulations because you're going to be casting this event.
Yeah.
NAIC out there for the
Yeah.
first time. What do you think about casting an event like that?
What an honor, I guess. Yeah, again,
What
another
an
one of
honor.
those things.
I guess.
What an honor. It's an odd one from my side, only because obviously I've done EUIC this year. I had a EUIC last year, so yeah, it's a good opportunity just to kind of, hang around and work with a lot of the other NAIC or NA casters, I should say, as well, because there's a lot of the big hitters there, as we all know and love.
The big hitters. You're out there. You're partnered with Shay as well, right?
I assume we all
Yeah.
assume that's how it's going to be. With EUIC, we had the chance to kind of rotate around to work with Pablo, which was kind of cool. But we kind of knew we had our partners for the majority of the event, the rest of it. This there's quite a big group of us this time for NAIC, right? With three pairs, and I assume Adam or Skarzig doing the sort of hosting role again.
Sure.
So less rounds, a lot more sort of different ways to kind of rotate around. But yeah, very likely that it'll be me and Shay together, which is always good fun. I haven't had the chance to work with Shay this season. We had some really cool events last year together. Like we had some back-to-back with one another as well last year in Europe, which was really good fun. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. New Orleans is incredible. I obviously went there last year to play whilst you were casting, Joe. Had a great time. So I'm stoked to be able to have the opportunity to go back.
Yeah, it's role reversal. I'm really excited to actually enjoy things that I didn't last year because I was just so knackered after a day of tournament.
You're gonna be out and about in the sun, are you?
Yeah. No, not in the sun, but when night falls, trust me, I will be out. A creature of the night, for sure.
He will be bright and sunny at some point.
So I'm looking forward to that. Yeah. And I think a lot of people loved it last year. The location is very good for like fun activities, good food.
Have you played
Tasty
an
weather.
NAIC, Joe?
Yes, many years ago.
Oh,
I
you
played
did? Yeah.
Xerneas Break.
Xerneas Break.
Xerneas, yeah.
Xerneas Break. Yeah.
We all
I
remember.
tanked a 4-0 start and didn't do 2. Oh, it was
Xerneas
tragic.
Break.
That's
a deck I wish I
the
played
redemption
a lot
arc,
more.
for sure. And that's another reason why I'm so invested in Destin Rivals now, because I know that that's definitely the biggest tournament I'll play in the year. I think I have one tournament that I'm playing in this current Journey format, but also looking at Destin for the biggest event of the year, outside of Worlds. So
I guess
What
we
is
won't
that?
definitely
have much-
invested in that.
We won't have too much
When's
time to
release
speak
date
about
again? I was going to say quickly.
Destin
Release date
Rivals,
is on the 30th of March. No, of May. Of May. That makes way more
May.
sense.
Yeah.
So it is literally
So it's
NAIC
just for
weekend is the
NAIC.
first weekend. Yeah.
I was going to say we haven't really. We're not going to have much chance to talk about Destin Rivals, but is there a favourite deck that you already have and you're already testing?
Well, not Mewtwo. I really don't like Mewtwo right now. I think it's going to be more of a counter deck than like high on the perch of decks. I think it's here to try and be a check to Pult, but I don't know how good it is just generally. I think it's a strange mash of like Blacephalon GX from back in the day and like old Holland/Magma engines from many years back now. It's so heavily tied to its one supported use per turn, and even with the 4 receiver, if you just don't have the right one on the right turn, your deck feels atrocious, and you still are jumping through a lot of hoops. You still need to, like, even with the great draw power you have of that in the stadium, which is definitely crazy, you can still just not hit like your special energy card and then have a terrible like you don't have much backup. Your backup is like attacking with a Spidops or something, and that's just terrible sometimes. So I think it does need to be ironed out. At the moment I've been trying a max belt list, but I could easily change back to Secret Box, because I think one of the best cards is that new stadium that can stop colourless mons. I think that's actually massive. So I need to experiment with it a bit more, but so far I've been uninspired by that deck, which is a shame because I love the Rockets receiver and I think that's such a cool way to deck build and so creative. And I hope that some of the other Rocket stuff or a list can be made better than what we've come up with so far, where we can take advantage of that such a different, unique playstyle compared to the other decks in the game. So it still looks like Dragapult's really cracked, to be honest. But maybe that's the thing. They lure you in and then suddenly Mewtwo is that counter deck and can do well this coming up at NAIC. So, but yeah, still lots to explore, to be honest. I've just been enjoying the deck building process. I've been doing lots of tweeting of potential deck lists like Sir Titan and Grimmsnarl and stuff like that. I low-key think Grimmsnarl is really good. I think if I had to choose a deck today to put time into, I would want to put the most time into Marnie's Grimmsnarl, because it's not a powerful card, but in the context of the format, it does everything you want to do. And it is low-key a Charizard in that it's self-accelerating and all this other stuff. So if there's one thing that I'm hoping is in a good position for NAIC, it would be that deck, because I'd really like to play something like that. I think
you see good placements of Marnie's Grimmsnarl every now and again in the city leagues results.
Yeah, and their city leagues are just starting back up.
Yeah,
they're just starting back up this weekend as well with the Rocket stuff, and obviously Mewtwo's another dark weak multi-prize Pokemon that Grimmsnarl can cash in on. I suppose Marnie's Grimmsnarl is still weak to grass, so then you can get hit by the Spidops. Mewtwo does cover its weakness quite well with that combination.
Yeah.
But I think Grimmsnarl is good at taking out small basics as well, so I think it should be fine. Anyway, I'm getting way in the weeds there about stuff. I just wanted to quickly mention NAIC. Let's talk about
time to be talking about that later.
Let's talk more about the Journey Together format then. Rab, you said you were watching a lot of the stream.
Yeah.
And I think you have the day one meta out here for us to look over. You crack on.
For listeners, Dragapult first at 16%. Then we have Goldingo, Raging Bolt, Teal Mask Ogapon, Terrapagos Noctowl, Ogapons, as they would like to call it, Noctowl in 5th place, and Archaladon in 6th with 8.3. So a lot more, well, I say a lot more, it's a bit more top heavy than the formats that we've had before, where it's been Dragapult and the rest hovering around 10%. At least with this tournament, we had a Goldingo and Raging Bolt above and breaking that 10% at 12 and 11.7. Now 1% doesn't sound like a lot when you put it in percentage, but that's something like 20 to 30 decks in such a big tournament. So it is quite an increase in representation, I would say. But I think, was I surprised at Raging Bolt coming third? No.
I certainly was.
I think it's always been popular. It's always been, it hasn't always been popular, but it's always been more popular than we always think it's going to be. But I think now it's got this different approach with Noctowl, so I can see a lot of people going, I can play Raging Bolt again, and now it's better because people are playing Noctowl for whatever reason. Had a pretty atrocious conversion rate, which is expected. And I think we're just going to be concluding that stop playing Raging Bolt again.
Once again, stop it.
But I was pretty sad to see not much of an impact from Journey Together in terms of singular archetypes. But pleased to see how people had adopted cards from the set.
It's always one of those things when you get a new set and a rotation at the same time. It's a massive mash of all sorts happening at once.
I always, when I saw the Journey Together cards, specifically the EXs and the kind of build-arounds with Hops and N, and my biggest question was always going to be how strong are they as singular archetypes? Like if you played a Hops package, if you played an N's package, and it turns out, and I mean we'll come to this conversation, I guess, but it seems that people are just taking those cards and putting it in already established decks. So that's how I see it. So Terrastallize EXs are still pretty dominant, regardless
I would say so.
of what's been introduced.
Alex, anything stand out for you in the day one, similar to expectation?
Yeah, I mean, just because of the big changes that we have in rotation, I think a lot of people fall back on their comfort picks, right? I think that's probably why we see the numbers that we do. There was a lot of information and news and sort of hype around Terra Box or the Ogerpon's Noctowl box, I think that is what it's been called.
Sure.
Because Tord played it at the Champions League and alongside a few other players as well. And then all of a sudden there's, hundreds of Metafy classes on it, for example.
Yeah.
But because there's so much information
and good
out
free
there,
content you can watch.
Yeah.
That finger is ridiculous.
Can you just please make sure you know, actually do as your listeners say next time? Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, I think all of those decks have had some level of like a high level of following in the previous format as well. We know the format slowed down a bit, and that's why there's certain builds that are sort of come back into the format. Raging Bolt with Noctowl, which Ben's just mentioned, you know, we had that before, right? People have tried it before. It was probably a bit of a more slower engine, which kind of meant that it wasn't as well played in the previous format. So I don't think it's any big shock. I mean, as Ben said, the biggest surprise is how some of these decks have had to kind of rebuild themselves. Like Golden Go EX has had to utilize, you know, Dragapult or Dracloak's sort of ability to help give it some draw engine or draw power as well, or an additional finisher towards the end if needed or early on. But yeah, that's kind of just the biggest thoughts I had going into this format. I don't think everyone was ever gonna spice up how our Pokemon sort of meta is right now, at least in the early stages. As we get a sort of more defined meta, there will be like gaps or opportunities that people start ironing out, I think.
So if we look at the day 2 meta, it's like Rab said, that Raging Bolt fall off. Everything else, like Dragapult did really well. Dengo, Terra Noctowl, and Arch all held pretty strong. The Ogerpon Toolbox, Terra Box didn't do great. But would you say this is our best 6 decks now, looking at the day 2?
I would. I think one thing is... I think one thing for me is I slept a lot more on Gardevoir EX than I probably should have. And I think everybody did. Not everybody, obviously, but a lot of people did. Impact of Curlier going... most people just kind of shunned it as a dead deck. You know, the consistency's gone. You're relying on items and supporters to get the energy in the discard. There's no what's the internal engine going to be, blah blah blah, etc etc. Stage 2 as well. But obviously in the tournament, Henry had shown yet again how underappreciated the deck actually is.
But not just him, the conversion was pretty strong, right?
Yeah, the conversion.
The believers did find a decent way, right?
And I think what I mean is like Henry shown it on the stream with
for everyone now, for sure.
Yeah, for everyone, I would take this, certainly. I don't think there's any other deck out there that I would say is deserves to be on this list specifically.
And Terra Box kind of flopped. Is it just that it was a tough field for it, or is it that was just some of the best players in that 5,000 player tournament generally that could go far with any deck, and it just happened to be Terra Box, and it was more surprise factor in that event as well. You have to remember, especially with a deck that has burst attackers. Like now we know what things come out of the toolbox, if that makes sense. So you can play around the specific math. I think
it's really interesting because Todd brought the deck to Japan, and that already would have, and Rahul, and that would have already had kind of this massive pin in the deck for months. And I think a lot of people were talking about how the deck would play over here once the format was legal over here. So it had it wasn't really a surprise anymore. I don't know how you feel about it, Dow. But
you've hit the nail on the head. One, the format's different, right? In the Champions Leagues, they're best of ones. You don't get time to react or to see the deck and then react to games 2 and 3 if you need to. What you do get in, I guess, TPCI events and so on, it's alongside all the information that's been leaked so far and come out of it, is knowing every single one of those different combos that could happen or different things that you have to be playing around. One of the biggest things, I know, Joe, you had been a big stan or big champion of the deck for quite some time, is because of the number of options that are available to it. But does the number of options then cause so many more headaches than what you would typically have in some of the other, maybe some of the more linear decks? Even with things like Dragapult, you because it's been around for so long now, people can get sort of very much muscle memory in terms of how you would eventually just play that deck out. You can't really do that with a deck like Terra Box. And like Joe's had more experiences with that deck than I have, so I'll leave that to you to kind of explain exactly how that.
No, you're right. It's a responsive deck almost always. Like it's always reacting to your opponent's board to have the best play available. So that's hard to navigate. The hands are physically hard to navigate because you're working off a non-draw supporter for the majority of the entire game. So it's just off whatever you can scrounge with Mew and Fez, as well as what you're picking as you go. So that's hard to master. But I also think even a lot more of the stage 2s are probably playing Stamp this weekend, for example. And the Terra Boof deck, it's its own sort of approach, but it's a defensive approach that is like a hard counter matchup, even Arch to an extent, because it's hard to reload Pikachu with Terra Box with the way it's built right now. So I think there is genuine need to adapt. And again, there's even all these random decks playing like Rocky Helmet or Vengeful Punch or a Poison Package just so you have Pikachu answers. Like, that wasn't so present in the Champions League. Pikachu was like a cheat code for a small time. And now it's certainly not that. So there are elements, and it's a reactive deck that can't miss a beat either, because it's still an aggressive deck that throws everything out there, and you've got multiple multi-prize Pokemon that your opponent can always counter-catch because you're the one trying to be on the front foot, right? And just race. So it puts itself in that awkward position at times. And I think, like we've all said at this point, that the first thing we tested against was Terra Box versus Dragapult or Gardew or Dengo or whatever else. So that was the public enemy going into this event, more so than Pult, which is insane because the data still showed that Pult was phenomenal and all this other stuff. Like, we should have always had Dragapult as the first priority, but it seemed like that hype cycle was all in on because the Terra Box on paper could bully the stage 2s. People like got ahead of put the cart before the horse, you know. And was straight.
Everybody would have had eyes on this deck months before this tournament would start.
I still feel like it can come back, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree.
Maybe it's like a reduced package, or just like I think it could easily be more Clefairy focused as well. Like Clefairy with one Pearl can also put a real spanner in the works against some things. So I think maybe a reduced like 2 Clefairy, 2 Grass Ogerpon, just like 1 Wellspring, and just have like that as your package, and don't have Pikachu, and just forego some matchups, or like just try an earlier Blood Moon against the Archers or something, you know.
It's the beauty of the Noctowl engine, because you don't feel like it's as stressful finding space to put stuff in, because you can afford to play more one-offs, I suppose, in terms of trainers and counters.
It's just such a hard juggle still. I don't know. I feel like it's going to end up still in our top 6, but I don't think it's going to remain, like it's nowhere near going to get towards that very top deck that I think people were expecting because of its difficulty to play, but also the format has already been like prepped for it, and I don't think lists will change because it's seeing less play, if that makes sense. Like there's good reason for those cards being in their decks anyway.
I guess one thing is
I
that...
do...
Oh, go on, sorry.
I was just going to say, just on that point, I would expect it to be around that 6th place, but I don't expect it to always be on the day 2 graphic.
Yeah, that's fair.
Going forward.
Yeah.
I just think there's inherent... The meta's going to continue to evolve, right? So whilst you're trying to play catch-up with the Terra Box trying to evolve to meet the previous format's meta, because we're in such an early stage of this rotation, that will change as well, and I think more often than not, that would just kind of cause that Terra Box list to just be having to... It has to stay around the same sort of 55 for a while until the format kind of matures, I think. Maybe towards the end, I think that's when I think it'll spike.
Yeah, fair.
I believe the only reason it got such high representation in this regional was because it was the fashionable deck to play. And by fashionable deck, I mean it had the hype around it. Oh, I'm playing this because I know it's going to be good because somebody good I know played it. You know,
someone good I know.
We always know that there's those decks that can be ever represented in tournaments, but I think we'll see a hard drop off in the amount of decks.
Interesting. Well, one thing that might pull the attention away from Terra Box. Sorry, Rab. Can I just?
No, go on.
Is just Flareon had very good conversion for a very underplayed deck.
Do you want me to move on to the conversion? I can put that.
Let's look at some conversion, shall we? Just while I mention this, is that Flareon is another Noctowl engine, But its positioning seems a little cuter in that you have really easy means of punishing Golden Go and Raging Bolt just because you have Virtue of Briar, which I think is still massive. And I think that Angelite is difficult for people to play around the whole game, and you can find weird wiggle room spots of Iono countercatch Angelite, and suddenly I'm back, similar to how Gardevoir and Pult have their defense mode plays. I feel like Flareon weirdly does have that available to it. One of the highest placing Flareons was playing Stamp, and again, that sort of leans into the fact that you can just jump scare people with stuff that they're not expecting in the list. And even though it is multiple stage 1s, because you can play the Terra Orbs and because you naturally play Poffin, which works so well already in the colourless stuff, I actually think you increase your outs to play the game to Terra Box if you really want to. So I think its consistency isn't actually hurt by the fact that you're playing multiple stage 1s. You're just less boxy than Terra Box, but the things that it does effectively are really good right now into our top 6, I think.
Yeah. And there 75 people in total had brought Flareon. That's not a low number. That's pretty high considering.
Wow. After 2,600.
But I mean, Flareon.
It was the 10th most played. 10th most played deck.
I'd say that's pretty high. Sorry, I've just
it's
face is below the graphic on the thing. Hang on 2 seconds. There you go.
Hello. Hello.
Oh, Nelly needs a change. Hang on.
Maybe it was more popular than I expected, but still, like compared to certainly, Bolt was the most played deck, right, in day 1, was it not? Or the second most played? It's because I've got the grouping variant.
Yeah, I've got grouping variants on.
So as an individual variant, it's the most played deck.
So I can whittle off the conversion rates of the top 10, I suppose.
Yeah, go for it. Are you going to group or not?
Yeah, I grouped, yeah. So Dragapult 17.
No, ungroup, bro. Ungroup.
Are you going to do it? Don't do it.
Okay. Oh, no, sorry, hang on. So the most...
Let's give him 5 minutes, Joe, to read it out.
Yeah. I'll go through top 5.
Can I just shout out the website? labs.playlimitlesstcg.com.
Yeah, this is a brilliant website, yeah.
Robin's the goat.
Dragapult Duskmar at 14%, let's say. Just straight Dragapult, 28%, which is good. Terrapagos Noctowl, 12. Golden Go Dunsparce, sorry, I should say, at 12. And then Gardevoir, 15%. But I will, for the memes,
15.
go on the highest conversion rates, is Gouging Fire, 100%. Espathra Frostlass, don't throw out your Espathras, 43%. Blissey 25, Archaladon Zoroark 20, same as Greninja Blaziken, of course. And then Roaring Moon at 18%. So that's where we are. That's
quite interesting that the Sada decks have adapted the poison package so that they can spend their manual attachments on the big boys in the back and just poison as you go. And I think one of the big things, even though you fall prey to Countercatcher, is that you're not activating Fez early. So you're not giving these setup decks the draw they need to find Countercatcher a lot of the time. So that's something that I underestimated. That just same with the Archaladon, just that poison package, I'm so in love with it right now because we have lost so much ability draw that just denying Pheasantipity makes all these other decks just poop themselves and suddenly they've given up 2 prize cards before they've done anything. I feel like that makes these decks good racers, and obviously Gouging Fire actually gains that damage mod to start pushing itself into really meaningful spots. So I think that's a really clever idea. Don't think it's going to be a mainstay, but I like where the logic is at with these. And actually Roaring Moon, I remember it won one of the very first online events, and that was a big surprise because everyone thought, Dark Patch and Poker Stop and Greninja, all these things are massive hits to the Sada deck specifically. But Roaring Moon still managed to find a way, and Gouging Fire as well, this one brave soldier going for it, which is really cool. Yeah. The other thing I wanted to mention was Straight Pulse doing so much better than Draga Dusk. And I remember in the previous format, Straight Pulse had some really high-profile players getting some big wins. I know the Fernandez brothers obviously were popularizing a Straight Pulse. I still am I'm still of the opinion that the straight pot is better than Dusk. Do you guys feel either way very strongly about this or not?
Well, there's a lot less admin to worry about.
True.
Playing straight Dragapult. I feel like it's a lot more linear. I feel like you don't really need. It's proven that you don't need the Dustoir in order to get around the matchups. I'm a big advocate of the straight Dragapult, just because of how. I feel like with the Dustoir, it's such a big. You're almost. I'm trying not to overcomplicate it, but I think playing Dustoir, it's such a different approach to the game that it is with straight Dragapult, that it's almost an entirely different deck.
It strangely is.
Yeah. And I'm just much more of a fan of having the security of just playing straight Dragger and not fearing that I'm messing up. And I feel like he can be checkmated a lot more playing Dustoir as well. Those are my thoughts.
Alex, any strong opinions?
Yeah, I mean, I played straight Dragapult to a tournament, right?
Yeah.
It's definitely my preference, but I do understand and feel when you use a deck that utilizes Dustoir, I think just the extra utility you get from it does kind of, showcase us when we see Andrew Hedrick sort of pilot the deck, right? That there's so much more you can do, but then there's so much more you can do wrong as well.
True.
Yeah.
And that's probably where maybe sometimes some plays or some games get away from a player. You have to be pretty red hot on it in terms of how you actually utilize the Dustoirs, utilize all the pieces, all the combos.
Yeah.
And that's the difficulty in it. But I think it's still a very good deck, but the straight Dragapult just means it's a little bit more simpler, as Ben's kind of been trying to articulate the whole time.
Yeah. And struggling.
One of the most interesting things was that Walls was a much bigger deck in Japan. And I think that's one of the main reasons why Dustoir, again, it just gives you coverage for all the nonsense and stuff you can't deal with too easily with Pult. So straight Pult having that better window opportunity for us to play is an interesting thing that we kind of have to monitor. Because if there is that tipping point towards non-Dusk, that's where the Wall decks can start making a bit of a comeback. Any other decks that you guys want to shout out before we look a little bit more in detail at the lists?
Well, do you guys know the best performing Journey Together deck?
Do you mean as in an individual deck or conversion? What's your
type? It's
what have you found out for us?
So there was 5 Iono's Belly Bolt, there was 5 Clefairy, and both of them didn't make day 2, which is shocking.
Boo.
Can't believe it.
And Zoroark was the best, with 50 decks represented and 5 making day 2. There was also 50s Hops Zarshan and only 1 making it. Same amount.
2% Hops Zarshan. I knew it. Oh, I was so sad. I remember it made my top 10 from the online results, and I was literally calling this bait the whole time, and I was like, this is just a noob trap deck. I think it's so bad.
I'm so gutted because I love the mechanic. I absolutely.
So do I, to be fair. Yeah.
And it's such a shame.
It's
and they
a
just
noob trap
seem
deck,
to be
though.
more. The cards just seem to be enablers for the other decks, really.
Well, look at the best decks in the game draw more cards than that deck every time, and cards are just a fundamental to the speed of the game right now. You can't miss on key turns, and all of these decks are drawing a load more cards than the Hops deck.
If N Zoroark's attack was different in any way, I don't know. If it was
the best performing.
If it was Riotous Beating or anything like that, anything similar, it would be straight in the top 6.
I mean, 10% isn't horrendous conversion, right? It's not great, but it's not terrible. When you strip out some of the 1 and 2 and 4 whatever count decks,
it made top 16 in Japan, right?
Yes.
I've forgotten where it was now. But when
I think
when it was
it only made 64 in Atlanta. I'm pretty sure as the highest placing or one of the highest placing.
Yeah.
It's not going to stop me from playing it.
I think the positioning of the deck's getting better. I think I don't hate it into a lot
But
of the
then
evolving stuff.
as soon as Bench Barrier comes out, it's
Yeah, but that's a different time, right? That's
sure.
Also,
it's not
Dark
gonna
Typing
stop
gets
me from
better
playing
because Rocket's Mewtwo's a deck now in
Yeah,
theory, right?
that's true.
So there's perks still.
Or I could
In
just.
theory.
I
don't
did
know.
buy 2 full art Iono's Belly Boy X, so I could be playing.
So you're
be.
one of the 50 soldiers that didn't day 2. Is what you're saying.
I would be there, staying strong.
Let's have a look at some lists in detail then, shall we?
Sure.
Rabbed, give us your experience of that final match. Henry
Yeah,
Chow,
Andrew it's
Hedrick.
two-
Neither of them have lost a final before.
there were 2. You were seeing the final bracket. You would have hoped that it was that final, really. Henry versus Andrew, and we got it, and it was a great match as well to boot. So, yeah, it was
I was
just a
hoping for a
masterclass.
bit more
Wow.
analysis on the match.
Yeah. Well,
On
I
the
was gonna
match.
say, was it a great match? Is that your
What was
opinion?
your viewing
obviously
experience?
it was
Yeah,
divided
it was
online,
It was
right?
great. It was good vibes. It's good
Well,
vibes.
the tweet series was so funny because the same people that were saying this is boring, this is awful, ban X, then were
Yeah.
like 40 minutes later, cinema.
I don't mind it. I'm not a Budew hater, personally.
Okay.
I think it's
So
fine.
set the scene of that long game 1 then. Right.
Well, it's just Budew off.
Was it game 1 or game 2?
But do off.
Yeah, Budew off was game 1, right?
Budew off was game 1, yeah. And then it was just finished by just some Henry just throwing cards everywhere, and then a lot of memes at the end.
That was game
Right,
3.
you skipped right to the
No,
end.
it's
Yeah, what's happening?
Well, we can go.
I guess I'll go into it then.
Yeah, go on. You go. I wouldn't be very good at articulating.
The first couple of games were real cat and mousey, Budew based games where they're both trying to build semblances of boards as they're going, and trying to stop opponents from using crucial cards, specifically the likes of Countercatcher or like Rare Candy into certain things. Was really important for the both of them. Neither of them had like great starts in one of the games either, so it was like a weird slow build for both of them, which was kind of cool. Henry had Andrew in a very specific position that meant that Hedrick couldn't respond to this itchy pollen for a lot of turns, in that he'd already got Munkidori established, he'd already got Mew down, and was just waiting for a Clefairy opportunity to copy a Dragapult, KOing it, whilst also putting 6 on a bench Drakloak and using Munkidori to then finish the Drakloak. So Hedrick was just like waiting for his chance to eventually get this Dreepy down so that he could actually make an aggressive play into this Budew. But the patience from Henry, when it looked like he had every option in the world, the fact that he was just continuing this Budew check option every turn, was what was frustrating people, I think. But it was 100% the right play. And a lot of the hate was that Itchy Pollen was like stopping Hedrick from having any response, but that's only because all of the other cards that were in Henry's deck that made it that position. Not just Budew, right? The Budew was the thing stopping Hedrick from this checkmate being the case a lot of the time, was what I thought. So then that went on for 40 or so minutes. Henry won that game. We go down to turns of time in game 3, and Hedrick's only playing 1 Rare Candy in his deck, and he's able to turn 2 Candy Polt and Dusklops to get rid of a Zarua and go up 3 prize cards?
Free
Yeah,
prizes.
goes
takes
up
down
3
a
prize cards.
Clefairy.
Yeah.
Takes out Clefairy and Zarua, but he does so only having that 1 Dragapult remaining in play. So it then comes down to Henry Chow having to find his own Candy, Gardevoir, Night Stretcher back to the Clefairy that was just KO'd. Is there another piece? No, it's that piece. It was
That's
like
pretty
Candy,
much it,
Ultra Ball, Night Stretcher was what was required to get him there. And again, he doesn't play many outs at all. He basically shrugs, has to research. He's super nervous. He's throwing his cards face up for some showmanship. Then realizes that it starts to happen. fully panics that he's realized he's just won the tournament. He forgets that he was like mid Ultra Ball, like half of his deck was in play.
Yeah. That was the
it was all sorts. Yeah. He was shaking. Hedrick was already trying to shake his hand, but Henry was trying to show what he was doing, and It was a little chaotic, but we got there in the end, and it was absolutely nuts. It was so weird to think that the turn before we were like, oh my god, Hedrick's won this, he's got so fortunate to have this situation, to then Chow having exactly the most insane response. It was like such a roller coaster at the end.
I can't remember a game that had all of the different elements of Pokemon in one game. It had the high roll moments, it had the kind of drawing to get it, it had the intricate plays, it has... I mean, people thought that Budew off was boring, but I loved it because every itchy pollen counted. It wasn't just people doing it on a whim or because they had to. Well, they did have to, but you know what I mean.
Well, it's really interesting, right? Because we say Budew off, but like there was a lot of turns where Andrew couldn't Budew because then he'd know that damage will come straight back at him, right?
Yeah, so it meant something.
So he was sat there with like Horlucha in the active at one spot. Well, I think it was kind of forced to, but it was just kind of tanking some itchy pollens for a while, and then as Joe mentioned, is having to cycle around different Pokemon until he finds the right pieces or the right small window he might have had. So it was really intricate and really interesting, but it's. I guess from a viewing experience, it's everyone just wants to see knockouts. Everyone wants to see how the usual way a game is like won, right? Whereas in game
if you show that game to a beginner, they're not going to play the Pokemon trading card game.
Right.
They want to see Raging Ball versus Golden Go, don't they? That's the idea.
I want to see 10 energy come down and take a bit massive knockout.
I think one of the memes were a picture of Henry's last board state saying, "How do you explain this to a beginner?" That this is the optimal board state.
Unreal.
Very good.
On that Budew broken sort of thing, if we start looking at some of the top 8 decks, I think it'll start becoming very clear that the best players in the game have already started to adapt their lists with bolstering support accounts and everything, and not being so item reliant. This definitely gives me those Guardians Rising vibes of this new Garbodor comes out. It's a trash launch single prize attacker that completely detonates anything if your opponent's played too many items. And we were in a format where we had some of the best turbo items in the game, and the first tournament of the season, Espeon Garb and Drampa Garb dominate this tournament because every way that we'd previously built decks got completely railroaded by the single prize attacking threats, essentially. And it feels like, obviously to a lesser extent, because Budew isn't doing it all itself or whatever, it's not like the finisher, it allows people to maneuver themselves and buy that time and have that breathing room for the setup decks to do the heavy lifting. But it feels very similar when you look at that top 32 and you scroll and see just how many Dragapult Dusknoir decks are littering that, even the top 64. It's just all like Dragapult Dusknoir. It's absolutely insane. Yeah. And it feels like it's just been a slow realization for the greater player base to be like, we should start cutting Ultra Balls and start adding Jacques and Brock Scouting, and good old Professor's research is back, I think.
I was just showing Henry's deck now on the screen, and you can just see so much more draw power added to the deck, and less reliance on items, like you said, but adding just the 1/2 Zoroark just bolsters that as well. Fez, I know it was an introduction into Guardy previously, but now I feel like it's going to be much more of a staple. Jacques, Morty's Conviction. Also, why not? I actually think this card's great.
Why not?
I think it's really good. It reminds me a lot of Erica's Hospitality. I think that card was slept on back in the day.
But that found its way into some stuff now and again. I remember playing it in a Mali before.
I played it in Beast Box. It's great.
Some of the innovation of Henry's list specifically, like that 1/2 Zoroark is pretty interesting. Obviously, we lost refinement, but he's found a way to shoehorn it back in some regard. I do think that's one of the things that was... It's interesting because Zoroark EX came out, and we thought it had to be all singing, all dancing because the old EX. But I remember when the old GX, when the old GX came out, everyone thought it would just be a draw engine and that Writer's Beating was mid. And it turned out to be completely the wrong way. So we got it wrong both times, if that makes sense.
I remember when Zoroark GX first came out, and people were saying you need to play a 2/2 in Silvally Buzzwole, or you need to play a 2/2. Because I remember my first deck with Zoroark GX was 3/3/3 Decidueye GX and 2/2
Yes.
Zoroark GX.
We all
But
thought
then,
Zoroark
like you
was
said,
the deck.
Completely
Exactly.
flipped. 4/4 every time.
Yeah. But yeah, people. I remember specifically comparing it to like Octillery and being like, why it's better or worse than Octillery. It's just an engine mon, and then it became everything. Whereas because of that history of the old Zoroark, people thought this would be its own deck, busted 4/4 straight away. But it seems very much more this time around that it is just going to be the best trade guide that we have. And we've seen that in Arch builds. We've seen it now in Gardevoir. I was really happy to see it in Guardy because I was trying it in Guardy before this event. I was trying it admittedly with Arven Evo, and that's not the direction it's gone in, because I think Arven's just generally worse anyway.
I think just before the final started, you messaged me saying, "I'm so right about this."
I'm such a genius. I honestly, I was about to like tweet out about it. And then I was like, hang on, Henry's list is nothing like the one I posted, and I didn't even have Budew, and he won exactly because of Budew. So I'm like, I can't even take any credit for this. I'm completely in the wrong, and I'm frogged. But yeah, I think a very creative list from Henry. I think we could easily see the Zoroark stay in the list. And yeah. He's just a Guardy visionary by the looks of things.
That's what two other direct invites stolen away now, which is always
so greedy.
I know.
It was a guaranteed snap of an
regionals.
invite as soon as we saw the final, right? We knew that an invite was evaporating either way.
Yeah. Well, how many? So we've had Ryuki now take 2 as well, right? No, we take 1.
We'll take 1 away. Well,
Henry with 2 as well, so that's 3 and
2 away technically, right? I guess.
Yeah,
it is 2 away
from.
Yeah. Is there any lists you guys wanted to look at specifically?
I mean, we should take a look at Hedrick's list as well, surely.
Sure.
One of the really interesting things is just how many groups came together on these lists. Like, if you look at Hedrick 60, how many names are underneath that list? That was also the case for the Straight Pulse, where there was just a lot of collaboration going on for this event.
Yeah. I feel like you see that a lot more with rotations. A lot more people are testing, right? Testing together than usual.
Yeah.
Because it is rotation, naturally. So, yeah.
But just another shout out that it's like thin the Arven down, go research, go Jack, go Brock scouting. These are the things. These are the ways that you can defend yourself against Budew. Your hand's locked. Well, let's see 7 more. Let's just give ourselves the opportunity to keep playing the game. And I think
finally justify buying those full art Jack.
Finally. But yeah, it's a huge Pult and Guardy fiesta. Guardy is definitely good into Pult. Is Guardy the best deck into Pults, do you think?
I feel like it's always been good into Pult. But now with Lily's Clefairy, it's just that bit more. Do you disagree?
I think it's had quite an even time against one.
Oh yeah, sorry. When I mean good, I don't mean like positive. I mean it's always been good, like 50-50.
You'd be fine playing. You'd be fine playing.
Yeah. I'd be fine playing it. Yeah.
Because your deck can handle it basically. It's always had like a nice 50-50 into it. I mean, obviously if Dragapult, again, depending on which Dragapult you play up against, because Dustoir can start to really whittle down and your at the time Curliers and stuff. But yeah, with Lily's Clefairy, I think that's where it's really opened up a lot of doors, because it just makes life so much easier. I mean, that again going back to the final goes to show you why Andrew had to take it a particular way in terms of that matchup, because if he ever slams down, even if he was like ahead, just like he was in game 3 of time, into time, that Lily's Clefairy could just come down and like smack away and remove it. I mean, if you combo it with something like the Mew EX, and you're also then getting a Phantom Dive for a knockout and the 6 damage counters onto the bench somewhere as well, alongside another
monkey.
Monkey. That's what I was gonna say. So it's like, it's just wild, right? That's where I think if you allow Gardevoir to get that extra turn, if Budew does enough for that 1 or 2 turns, it's itchy pollening. Dragapult's probably slightly unfavored at that point. It really requires like a big comeback mechanic with like, I don't know, unfair stamp and some other shenanigans at the same time.
Right. So yeah, we think God of War is definitely here to stay. Then it's definitely gonna probably increase in play. Like it was insane that it wasn't day one of the graphic. I think. Like I really wasn't expecting that much bolt. I was expecting Tagali to be at the bottom of the day one, but yeah, it's gonna resecure itself. You just had a United goal, Alex. Hang on, we're going live to Alex now.
Harry Maguire in the 121st first minute. Slabhead's done it.
This is huge.
I was hoping we wouldn't have to mention Harry Maguire on this podcast.
Onana's celebrating it with the fans.
We've lasted almost 40 episodes without mentioning Harry Maguire.
So close.
Is God of War easier to play than it ever has been?
No.
I think it's easier to play than.
I mean, you see fewer resources again now.
Yeah,
right? you have to play your hand so specifically now.
You don't just get to draw cards and like hit the pieces you want.
Yeah, there are times where like you buy that breeding room as old Guardy and you knew that you were then sat on a 14 card hand and it was like, I'm not losing from here. That's not how. Like there were times where you just had your energy reservoir built and you were like, I'm being chilling. And I feel like it's a lot more. Now.
I feel like it's a lot more approachable to play now. I don't know.
I
don't know.
I disagree. I
there's
think,
always intricacies in any deck, right?
But yeah. I think there's. I mean, there was a good number of players who still brought it to Atlanta, right? Its conversion was pretty good because obviously we saw, but they tended to be like the very good players that were piloting God of War as well. I mean, even Brent Tonneson was piloting God of War. You had Isaiah Radner, you had Henry Chow obviously winning. I think there's still like Joshua Frink, who I think finished pretty highly as well with God of War.
He's been standing Guardy for a long time, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's those players who have put a lot of time into it and actually are probably one of the better God of War players that will be doing better with the deck at the moment. That will change. I think we're going to see higher numbers in God of War. I think we're going to see higher numbers in terms of conversion later, but that's just as people are playing more refined lists and so on and so forth. But yeah, I wouldn't say it's necessarily easier now. I mean, just drawing cards is an easy action to do.
Yeah. It just makes you have the optimal turn more often when you see more cards. What about Golden Go then? So this was 8th and 9th in the tournament. One was a Dragadengo, but still very much the leaning Dengo, and then the Dracloak draws cards, and every now and then you get a Pult attack in. Is this still one of the better checks to Dragapult? Because that was kind of, for EUIC, a lot of the top players decided to bring Golden Go into that field of, back then it was Guardian and Pult as well. So is Golden Go, again, like rightfully the amount of play that we saw? It had a good day 1 to 2 conversion. It did make top cut as well. It fell away eventually, but
it's definitely a better counter than Raging Bolt.
Raging Bolt, yeah.
I mean, I don't think Raging Bolt was ever seen as a counter deck. I think it let's impose my own strategy deck.
It's the better beat deck, right?
Yeah. Sure. It is a slogger, Rav. It is a slogger.
Two price sloggers.
And just a final note on Noctowl. It lost out basically to Dracloak, Zoroark, and Golden Go draw. Is Noctowl still not the way? Or...
I think Noctowl's still busted.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I think Noctowl's the more I've played Noctowl recently, it's so good.
The way you think about
as soon as it was released.
The way you think about how they group up. I mean, Limitless did, or what we do grouping in terms of like the decks. If you just grouped up all the like Noctowl decks, basically like Jewel Seeker, they're all Jewel Seeker decks in reality because they don't work without Hoot and Noctowls.
Sure.
You were testing a game a little bit earlier. I jumped in right at the end just before we jumped on this podcast. You were targeting down a Hoot over anything else that was on the
Genius.
board. Yeah, right. And you win.
I won that
game. and with the bad deck that you've been talking about.
Spoilers.
Mewtwo deck. Yeah. But yeah, I think if you combine all of those, I think it's probably. I haven't actually looked. I'm probably chatting absolute crap. But I want to look at those numbers. I would love to see whether those numbers actually look good for it. If you combined all of like the Noctowl engine.
It's at least 30%.
But
just in day 2.
I guess the view is like, we've also had, and we've been very privileged in recent sort of formats where we've had a lot of tutoring cards, right? We've had Shady Dealings, we've had Arceus V-Star, and just being able to cherry pick your items rather than hope to raw draw into them with those draw engines we've just kind of mentioned with like trade
Forest and all this other stuff.
It's so much more like it's so much a better feel good thing when I just want to take what I want, right? That's why I think it's more inherently powerful, but that's just me. I don't know.
Yeah, I definitely want to put time into Flareon. Like I registered for Portland successfully, so I'm playing in that one. And I've definitely got my eye on Flareon and Terrabox still. If I can squeeze a little bit more out of Terrabox, so be it. But if I can just play Wellspring in Flareon,
proper juice
really?
It out.
Yeah, I was.
What?
Do you not? I was.
I didn't think.
Do you not know he's going? What?
No. I didn't think he jumped the gun on
Flareon.
Oh. Yeah.
Hey, it got 2 top 16s, did it not? Or 1 top 16?
It did.
Top 32.
I think I just like Angelite.
I could present Jonathan Means down.
Angelite's also really cool. Yeah. I haven't used that effect yet in a tournament.
I've lost to Angelite one too many times on live.
Oh.
I mean, I've had the pleasure of playing like Cyrus's like Prism Star, where it's like it's fairly similar.
Cyrus Prism Star. Holy moly.
And again, going back to Sylveon,
where
it had Parallel Plea.
Yeah.
Oh,
Plea GX. Pick it up.
please. Resolve.
Survive.
Right, anyway, so that's more or less
that's Atlanta.
There you go. Atlanta.
We're going to quickly deviate to the Champions League Miyagi, are we? This is a zombie format that we never have.
Just a quick talk.
This has the Heatwave Arena, so pre the Rocket stuff. But there are still some takeaways in that, hey, guess what? There's still loads of Dragonholt Dustoir and Gardevoir all over the shop. The rest of it is a lot of Raging Bolts and some Terrabox and then a Walls. So,
there's not much diversity. Out of the 16 decks, there are 5 Dragapult, 4 Gardevoir, 4 Raging Bolt, and then 1 each of Walls, Frostlass, Munkidori, and Terrabox.
Yeah, so this is one of those little half sets in Japan where there wasn't really many impactful cards coming out. There's the Ethan stuff, which I suppose is the most impactful. I think Typhlosion was doing quite well in some of the city leagues. There's the Shaman, of course, which is the bench barrier that we were lacking. Some of the higher placing decks did have it, but some just went against it anyway, thinking that Terrabox is like less of an archetype when there is the potential protection. There was Garchomp. I know it was on the stream on the Champions League. I just don't know how far it went. But really, I think the bigger impact is going to be upcoming in the city leagues, more or less. I do like the Typhlosion, though. Typhlosion's a pretty good card. It's cool that it's just a deck thinner for the Ethan's Adventure Supporter, and then it almost acts as a single prize Blood Moon. That's how I'm sort of picturing it, in that it slowly builds itself up as you go, and it pulls these cards out of deck to give you fodder for Ultra Ball, give you fodder for Vessel and all this other stuff, and just at some point in your late game you have Iono hit with an Ethan's Typhlosion, maybe that's a win con, you know? I'm hitting 280 for 1 on a 1 prizer, that's just pretty cracked. So I do like the Typhlosion. I've tried it in Dengo. That's quite popular. I've tried it in Dragapult as well because you're naturally playing Fire Energy. That's probably not as good as just playing Dustoir. But maybe who knows? Maybe in Destined Rivals because in Japan they have the new Psyduck coming out, but I don't think have that until Worlds. So I don't think we have that for NAIC, but it's probably Worlds because it's a promo. We don't have that confirmed at least, but that's interesting to keep an eye on for the City Leagues coming up next week.
Just highlighting Ethan's Typhlosion now on PokemonProxies.com.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What website's that?
It's www.PokemonProxies.com.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
I'm glad you are. I think it's a pretty. I mean, the Quilava is very good. Once per turn search for Ethan's Adventure. Yeah.
Oh, I just love these trainer cards. Why can't they just be here forever? I can't believe Ethan's going to be the best trainer, though. That's the tragedy.
That is.
I don't mind Ethan, but.
I think the Rockets Mimikyu was probably the strongest Rockets card.
Yeah.
To be honest, I think that's stronger than the Mewtwo.
It is good.
That card's disgusting.
Or is it?
Yoinker Terror Attack.
Psychic Mons, yes. Yeah, it isn't terrible, is it? Gem Mimicry. I think what I do like about...
psychic type that can one-shot a Pult and also yoink its counter placement, just like a Mew EX.
Counter Gain is a card, as well as...
Counter Gain's a card, Rocket's Energy, yeah, exactly.
I think what I do like about the artworks of some of these Rockets cards are each of the trainers are different, which is so cool. It's such a good little gem.
All the grunts. Oh,
yeah.
little grunt.
Grunts.
It does add good vibes.
It does, certainly does. Yeah, I'm surprised that you think Rocket's Mimikyu is a bit understated.
No, Mimikyu's broken. I just think the Mewtwo deck, I probably just haven't got that balance right yet. I need to go back to the drawing board on a few counts of things, because there's just awkwardness going on, you know.
Yeah.
So I got to see how, like, either you compromise your own supporters. The Ariana and the Archer both need to. Well, the Archer has to have been a Rockets Mon KO'd. The Ariana only draws 5 if you have any non-Rockets in play, right? So if you start weaving in the Fez or the Lily's Clefairy or like the Blood Moon, all these cards that can, or like are obviously really, really powerful cards, having to forego those entirely feel awkward. But then also, the deck doesn't, because you have your fantastic supporter that can grab the basics, the Proton, you really don't want to play many ball search for basics, so that many like nest balls to find those specific ones when you need them later on also feel weird. And if you just start a Clefairy, like your game might be over. So it feels weird to juggle the right non-Rockets men in that deck. I think Fez and Clefairy are probably the ones that make it, if any, but I don't think many more than that. But yeah, that's the thing that I'm still trying to get to grips with, of like, do we go full Rockets themed deck and play no non-Rocket men? Or do we just accept that there's the times where you get completely griefed by leading one of the good cards that we should be playing in our decks, you know?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden we're back on Destined Rivals chat.
Can you tell that I'm focused on NAIC?
Yeah.
Crazy. This is helping you, Alex Dow, so don't get angry about it.
I'm not complaining. I need
This
all
is
the
your revision.
data all the data. We need to start, I need to start playing. Maybe I should join some of your webcams.
Come on, get the webcam on.
Then I've got to print. Do you know, save the trees, Joe. Come on now.
No. I do use recycled paper, to be fair.
Oh, here we go. Sure.
If you want any
No,
cardboard,
I promise you.
I've
Let
got
me show you how brown these are. So they're not white.
Yeah, I use my 5-year-old bank statement as my printer paper.
That is actually pretty white. I promise that's recycled. So there. Anyway, let's move on to. There's a tournament going on this weekend in Mexico. Where is it, Rab?
That's
right, Monterrey.
Yes, Monterey.
Oh, you spoiled it.
I was going to say Montieri, but I know it's right. It's wrong.
Yeah.
Monterey.
Monterey Jack cheese. Is that where it's from? I don't know. And also, then there is Seville in 2 weeks' time as well, right? So
yes,
it's a good time to think about those cards and what's coming up. Have we? Do we just think it's going to be more of the same at this stage, or is there going to be big changes, or nah?
Yeah, I mean, I'll let me open with this since I spoke to you about the data beforehand anyway. But what we're going to expect for Monterrey, I don't know how you want to say it, Rab, Monterrey and Seville. Obviously, there'll be some impact from the Monterrey tournament as well. But what we've had from Atlanta, there's two big, massive cards that everyone has to expect to be facing almost every round, right? Budew and Munkidori. And I know you've kind of semi-spoiled it earlier, Ben, but there was 100, out of the 272 decks in day 2, there was 120 of them that played at least a single copy of Budew. So expect at least almost one every upper round to be facing up against that. And Munkidori, out of the 272, would you like to hazard a guess at how many decks actually played?
No, it's going to be much more. I think it's going to be more than Budew.
You think it's more than Budew? I don't think it's more than Budew. I'd be surprised.
How much was Budew?
120.
120.
So like 44%.
I think 150.
Hold on. So it's in Dragapult, it's in Terrapagos, it's in Dengo, it's in Gardy.
It's in everything.
It's not in.
I think it's in everything really, apart from Terras.
Damn, is it really more than Budew?
I think it's everything apart from Noctowl, right? Technically.
Well, the tanky Terrapagos does play Munkidori.
Sorry, yeah. Okay. I think 150, or perhaps even 200.
I wouldn't say 200.
200.
I would go.
Wild.
Yeah, I'll go. Yeah, 151.
More than me then.
It's pathetic, isn't it?
After exclaiming that it wouldn't be as high as Buddy. Yeah. 159 decks.
Oh, crazy!
Had a Munkidori in it, which is ridiculous, right? Just under 60% of what players will be facing in day 2. They'd expect it to be like having to play against someone throwing back, flunging. 3 damage counters back. I was.
We're back at the zoo, and they just.
I've also seen a really weird video which we'll talk about offline. I hope I share with you later. But
it's where he eats it, isn't it? Yeah.
I haven't seen this video.
I was just like,
he does a poo with his hand, and then.
Okay, yeah.
Let's just recycle that.
Sorry.
Hang on, what's
sidetrack?
This is brilliant. I'm actually.
Hang on.
But yeah.
Why did I get rid of this?
It obviously means that there was a lot more respect. Well, as we probably correctly decided, that there was a lot more respect against Dragapult in general. I guess with maybe even a combination of Budew's and Munkidori. But yeah, that's some crazy stats there, which is interesting, and I think that's probably just going to continue, if not increase as well, because Dragapult's a very good deck. Gardevoir's also a very good deck, but how can you then think about people picking up Gardevoir, and how would you beat those going into these kind of tournaments? Is it just try to outrace them? And I don't know. It's hard.
Well, ironically, Munkidori is very good against Budew because of its low hit points, so you can punish it in that regard. I've heard interesting murmurings of Rocky Helmet around. Well. I've heard, obviously, bolstering supporter counts is probably just the safest way, because I don't think you're ever going to feel bad about just having more supporters in your deck. Generally, that feels good. Obviously, like, cutting ball search doesn't feel great when you're forced first, but and I think there is going to be this general shift away from max, 4/4 ball counts of Poffin, Nest, Ultra that we have seen, and it is going to be more of a split of these supporter cards. More situational ones, sure, but I do think there's going to be more of that happening. If not, just changes to deck lists entirely. I do think as well, I still think if you are going to play Arven, TM Evolution is still like so busted. I feel like one of the best responses to a Budew is TM Evo.
Yeah, I agree.
And I don't know. I was preaching it a lot in my meta-analysis on YouTube, and everyone was saying that I'm like overhyping it to hell, which I completely understand because I'm talking about it again. But I just can't see how it's not one of the best responses to be like, got item locks. Well, I'll just build behind you then. Like, let's both build together, shall we? How's that sound?
Because it's interesting, right? Because we're obviously going to keep talking about this final because it's obviously quite interesting and points to those things. If instead of Andrew not being able to just sit there and do anything because he couldn't Budew back Henry's board state, if he could just have a TM evolution, right? It just makes his life a little bit easier, and he's still able to proactively do something. So it's definitely still, in my mind, Arven's still a good card. It still grabs some very important tools that are still prevalent in like a number of decks, right? TM Evolution is a big one. TM Devolution might still be a thing as well. I've heard that kind of slowly come back in a number of different ways and shapes and forms as well. And I mean, there's a point where this Budew does stop Itchy Pollen, right?
Yeah.
So Arvin then becomes like busted to grab maybe an unfair stamp or grab something like really important. That rare candy finally you can start popping off for. So it's a really weird one. It's a fine balance that we're gonna have to find in a lot of these tournaments now. But people are just gonna pick up these decks and just play them, right? And then that's when the true deck builders of the formats and the current game, should be able to shine, because then
turn up with Frostlass Munkidori,
yeah, and get out the Espathra, yeah.
Good, agreed.
Espathra. Espathra out of
the
nowhere.
true deck builders bring out the Espathra. Finally.
Where's that Espathra?
I swear it was not in my...
somewhere.
It's in my playables, surely.
Do you guys think there's any deck that we haven't, that weren't on the sort of the day 1 or day 2 meta graphics that would be like, there's still something in there?
Not on the day 2? Oh, on the graphic.
Or just generally, I think. Maybe is there any deck that you think should be able to come up?
I think Walls can do bits.
Yeah, it seemed like it was a red alert tournament for...
Yeah. I think Walls is going to be the same as it... Is it as good as Lax? No, probably not. But any Walls type deck can capitalise on an unexpected meta.
We didn't see any for Alligator.
No Gators.
No.
Sad.
No, that also made me quite sad.
After you spent your money on those, yeah.
Yeah, reverse hollows.
Everyone
as well.
Everyone bought them.
Reverse hollows.
I already had them.
How many for Alligators? I don't think anybody.
24.
For Alligator, 24.
24 for Alligator
24
players.
24. That's low.
Huh?
For
a deck that won a Champs League, maybe.
Yeah, but
maybe people probably tested it and went, yeah, this is either too difficult or it's
do we
Ogre Ponds.
Maybe Joe expect an uptick in Mamoswine? Maybe.
No, wouldn't have
From the 23. Right, let's do that as an ongoing gag. 23. Will it make more than 23?
I think the 23.
Mamoswine watch.
Higher or lower every time.
Mamoswine watch.
I still like the poison package stuff. I feel like the ancient poison men, whether it's Moon or Gouge, have a place. They can both play Monkey. They can...
Yeah.
Subverting Fez is like my new favourite hobby. Like I was trying a poison package Zorro this last week or so, just randomly on ladder when I had the chance. And I thought it was terrible, but the one thing I really liked was the poison stuff. And just initiating race without giving Fez 3 is so big, I think. And it naturally, just having Perilous and Bonnet gives you play into anyone Budewing you, even without it being a Petron in the active. You can just do it from anywhere, which I think is pretty big. So, I really like the poison stuff generally.
Yeah. It's proven to be a package that isn't too hard to get out and established, which I think was a lot of people's concern, I guess, in the early days. But yeah. The only thing I'm thinking of is I want to cash in on Noctowl before the new stadium comes out, so I probably want to play a Noctowl engine in my next tournament or two, just so I can, because I'm gonna miss it as soon as I'm not able to just do it comfortably every turn too. I always say this, but it's always going to be a card that I'll look at in a couple of years and I'll go, why on earth didn't I just play more of this?
Yeah. You can do all sorts.
Yeah.
Right, I think that brings us to the end of the video. What are the Easter plans for everyone? Anything going on in our 4-day weekend? Come on.
Eating a lot of chocolate, I suppose.
Bit of choc.
What
egg have you gone for, Rab?
I've already had eggs, to be honest. I had a Milky Bar one not too long back, a couple of days ago. Yeah.
I saved myself for post Easter when they all dropped to about 50.
I know you do. Yeah, I know you do.
and then I eat myself into chocolate.
I swear, you celebrate Christmas on Boxing Day. You celebrate Easter day on the Ash Wednesday or whatever it is.
Yeah, exactly. That's how people.
That's genius.
get more chocolate. I to be honest, since being on holiday and the kids like enjoyed eating all those different flavors of Kit Kats and stuff, I haven't stopped eating chocolate. It's really bad.
Yeah.
I haven't stopped eating chocolate.
I've had a right sweet tooth recently.
The matcha Kit Kats. Is it the matcha ones?
Kit Kats, yeah.
Oh, so good.
There's been like there's the one with the Mount Fuji image packaging, which is like blueberry cheesecake.
Oh my god!
What, Kit Kats?
Yeah.
They do all the flavours, don't they? They do all the different flavours, don't they? Yeah.
So it's
do
just,
they have chocolate eggs anywhere else?
I don't know actually.
Is it just the UK that does that?
Surely the US do it as well. Easter
chocolate
bunnies. I mean, Christianity is quite big. I've heard.
Yeah, but the egg. Yeah.
Global brand.
But they're global. It is a global brand.
Are the Brits the only one eating eggs? Comment down below.
I don't think eggs is not religious. Eggs is not a religious thing, is it?
Well, it's rebirth.
Yeah, it's very.
Which is a religious thing, I would say.
Yeah, but a chocolate egg. I mean, come on.
Well, obviously, yeah, but it's like right. It's like saying Santa Claus isn't to do with religion.
Right, tweet it out. Tweet it out on the joke. Tweet
eggs,
it out. You got more followers, so you tweet out. Rest of world, :
do you know what an Easter egg is?
What is an Easter egg?
And if so,
Easter egg on my face. If not,
milk chocolate or.
Everyone's talking about how they like it sunny side up or something.
Yeah, I know. Not what I mean. Not what I mean.
Yeah, Joe. Anything? What's your plan?
Emily's coming around this weekend, which is great.
Okay. There you go. You can ask her.
You can.
Huh?
You can.
Well,
because if you give her an Easter egg,
hopefully she's not listening because I have got her an Easter egg.
Yeah, but she might be so confused. Like, what on earth is this?
Well, she's not Christian, so.
I reckon the interaction that will happen is you hand her over this Easter egg and she just puts it she's gonna put it to the side and be like, yeah, there you go.
But also a lint bunny. I do love a lint bunny as well.
A limp bunny.
Lint.
Oh,
Master
did you say limp?
Yeah, lint. I do love a limp bunny. What on earth are you talking about?
Right, this is where the Easter weekend's gone wild.
Yeah,
I've got a lovely family meal on Sunday, and then me and Jack are back in the recording basement on Monday. So still busy weekend for me.
Very good.
Any big family meals for you lot?
Are you forcing Jack round?
No, we're webcamming.
Sunday and Monday, big Easter.
Easter.
I'm not really
somewhere. Are they coming to you? Are you hosting?
No.
No,
God, no. No, again, out of the house. But I'm
traditional lamb?
Yeah.
Turkey?
Oh, no. My nan usually does lamb and pork.
Ooh.
Whenever I come over, she usually does pork because of the crackling.
Oh.
Bit of crackles.
Tell you what, I do like Easter. It's
a
lot less faff than Christmas, but you get the same bloody good meal.
I feel like it's like our Thanksgiving vibe, you know?
We don't
usually have obviously, but
I don't usually have a meal, like a proper meal like you.
You don't have a sit down meal like a
roast.
You white people.
I know.
Yeah.
Any chance for a roast? We're there.
I mean, to be honest,
why boast when you can roast?
Yeah.
I think I am going to be roasting a turkey on Monday anyway.
What about little Toby Carver on the Sunday?
Can you get a turkey this time of year?
Yeah, turkey's traditional for Easter.
No, surely not.
Yeah. Yep.
Really?
It's lamb and turk.
Turkeys are like
the main meats.
That big at this point, right? You got to get them big. Their stocks go up around November.
The ones they couldn't catch at Christmas.
Yeah, the ones that were too quick.
Yeah.
Finally eating those chocolate eggs.
You're eating some limp. You're eating some limp turkey.
Right, stop.
At Easter.
Right, I apologise to any limp animals listening right now. Terrible. That's how he's.
might take Mason on an Easter egg hunt. That's about it.
Very cute. Very cute.
There you go.
Wait, somewhere or around the garden? You know.
No, but there's I've got a national park that's like literally 5-minute walk.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Nice. Or some other places are doing them. Mm-hmm. Yeah, some family stuff. The usual.
Brilliant.
Yeah, very good.
Well, that's us then, and we'll be back. Well, we'll see.
Post Seville.
Post Seville.
We'll see.
Post Seville.
This was a bumper episode.
Well, to be fair, we've been consistent 2 weeks now.
Yeah.
For
Was it 2 weeks ago with
2
months? Jack?
I think so.
Felt like it was like.
Yeah, it was 2 weeks.
Yeah, it was a couple of weeks. Jack filled in.
We found a cadence, have we?
Yeah, he's got a lot of followers. Old Jack.
We did run the joke about confusing me with Jack. Did you hear all that, Dave?
Yes.
People thought that Jack was Rab.
And then when he posted the big
YouTube
list
on my
video.
stream.
So when he did the massive lists video, which is brilliant by the way, people were congratulating me. It's such a great video. Oh, funny. That won't go.
You're the new third guy. Is that what you say?
Yeah, he's wheedling his way in, and I had to say on stream live he has nothing to do with Omniboat. Can I just say that first of all? Let's just make sure that he's not part of my brand.
No, not at all. Not at all.
So yeah.
Right.
Okay. Let's call it a day, shall we?
Yeah. Please.
Cheers, everyone, and we'll see you when we see you. Bye.
See ya. Da, 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 da.